Cobb+Co Museum is part of the Queensland Museum network, and we house the National Carriage Collection. The GS Wagon is our newest acquisition. We purchased that at an auction in Muswellbrook down in 2013. And we were particularly excited about the opportunity to purchase the GS Wagon because, one, it was a very complete example of a GS Wagon, but also we knew we were moving into the centenary of the Anzac activities for World War I. This particular GS Wagon is very special from our perspective because it's one of the most intact examples that we've seen. Most examples that you see of GS Wagons happen to be fully restored wagons, and this one was so intact that we decided through our preservation research that we would preserve the vehicle as opposed to fully reconstruct it and fully restore it.
So this is the GS Wagon that we've bought March last year. It's a 1916 army wagon that was used by the British and the Australian armies. It was in a private collection, wasn't in the best of condition really, but it was saved because it was indoors. One side has been more exposed to the weather than the other, and we've had to pull that side apart more than we anticipated. This is the side that was the most damaged, and much of the boards on this side we've had to pull off. You can see on the other side, the main damage was to the top boards here. The biggest problem with this restoration or stabilisation process is it was not meant to be pulled apart. It's all riveted together with solid rivets, and we've had to destroy them to get the wooden parts separated. That means we'll have to actually make more rivets to put it back together again. So we've got one of the blacksmiths working at the moment to try and make the rivets.
We're manufacturing rivets, solid rivets, and what we're going to use it for is to put timber work back onto the general service wagon that we're restoring. This is no longer a standard practice, so you can't go out and buy these. Except for a different shape head. So the only way we've got of restoring our carriage is to actually manufacture the rivets.
One of the key things that we're doing with the wagon as part of this project is that we're preserving it, but we're preserving it in conjunction with a partnership with the Copland Foundation, but also an organisation called Soldier On, who are a national organisation that support return service people. Part of the project has meant that we've had return service people come in and work with this on the GS Wagon, and they are assisting us in learning some of the trade skills that are required with the wagon, but also helping us restore it to its former glory.
Being involved in this project between Soldier On and Cobb+Co, I think it's a great thing for myself as well as the other participants on the project. It gives the guys a place to go where they're learning new skills, they're interacting with other returned servicemen, they're interacting with people from the museum, and it gives them a goal to get out of bed in the morning and go and do. So apart from their treatment, they're doing a hands-on project that's giving them a bit of more social interaction.
Well, we're about 6 months down the track now, and most of the work's been done on the wagon. The bits that needed to be rebuilt have been rebuilt. We had to go and remake a lot of brackets and things that we didn't have, and we had to go and scrounge some stuff. We had noticed that the floorboards had been changed at some stage. They weren't appropriate, they all had to come out. And to put the floorboards back in, we needed 2.5 inch by 20 gauge screws. Now, they don't make them anymore. In fact, they don't make slot head screws much anymore. And that was one of those things that could have been a real problem, but actually turned out to be great because through the radio and television we appealed to the community, and we had lots and lots of the appropriate screws brought in. And that's great, not only because we got the wagon finished and not only for the publicity, but the community feels like they're part of the project too. It's a community project now. And so, the people of Toowoomba feel like they've had a say in the restoration of it and a hand. The things that we didn't have been made, like the tailgate. We had to, it didn't come with a tailgate, so with the plans we managed to make a tailgate. Anything that we've done that was a reproduction. We've stamped with the date, so in years to come people will know what was the original parts, what were the new parts. And so we've ended up with something that it shows what it was like, but altogether it still looks like a wagon that in the way it was used. Now there are some people who are going to say that, you know, with an original artefact like that you never touch it, and certainly there are good arguments for that. There are other people who say, well, you should restore it like it come out of a factory, and look, if there's lots of them around, and there are some have been restored like that, that's fine too. We sort of went a middle course. You can see that it's been worked on, but you can see the original parts there as well, and that's part of the story. This thing was with the Army for 24 years, and so it had a long working life as well as the life it had on the farm afterwards, and it went through World War I, which certainly was no picnic. We don't want it to look like it come out of directly out of a factory. It was something that had a life, and the fellows who worked with it, you know, had lives. I mean, it was part of a working thing in World War I and subsequently, and that's hopefully what this wagon will show.